Come on in.
Hey Jan, Elizabeth with Salesforce.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me in today. You know, I was talking with Jack at the Atlanta Boat Show this weekend, and I was super excited to speak with him about Global Yacht.
Yeah.
We actually have a bunch of clients that are in very similar sector to you guys who've seen a lot of success with Salesforce. So I hope we can find that value for you today as well.
Good to hear.
But before we get started, here's my card.
Awesome. Thank you.
And just to make sure, we've got about 20 minutes. Is that right?
Yes, we do have about 20 minutes. Just to get started right off the bat, I was going to see if you would mind giving me just like a little bit of an idea of price so that I know what we're looking at as we're going into this discussion.
Yeah, that's super valid. Yeah, I know you can't make any firm decisions without any price information. But in order to give you kind of an accurate representation on price, I can't do that until a little bit later when I fully understand what you're going to need. Is that cool?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I don't want you to lowball me and then be really stressed at the end. So no, I appreciate that.
So just to get started, I've got some notes on my computer if it's okay. I'm just going to be looking down a couple times.
Me too. I've got some numbers laid out here, so if I need to clarify anything, I can.
Perfect. Awesome. Cool. So was speaking with Jack and a couple other of the individuals at your company, it seems like you've begun to outgrow your current CRM system, and you might need a more updated version to fit your needs more closely. Would you agree?
Yeah, our current CRM system, really what we're using is like Excel.
Yeah.
And it's worked for us for a while, but I think as we've started to grow, it's just like not really fitting for us right now. So I think it's like being harder for our clients to really stay organized.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're absolutely right. So for starters, I've done a little bit of homework on Global Yacht, and after talking with a couple of the members of your organization, I've identified a couple of different problem areas that might be actually having a serious impact on your company as a whole.
Okay.
So I've kind of outlined them into three main groups. The first is you need a more accessible CRM system that can be viewed across the company. Another thing is that you need a more in-depth content documentation system that allows the sales cycle to be expedited so you can get more stuff done and closed faster. And then I would also say that you need a better way to track sales and forecasting. You know, this is again just talking with some of your salespeople, but do you mind if I ask a couple more questions to just kind of understand your perspective on the company and the business problems you're currently experiencing?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. So before I move on, is there anyone else you want in this meeting with you?
I don't think so. I think really I'm excited to hear about the tool, and if I need it, I am pretty free to sign up for it today.
Awesome. Okay.
Thanks.
So when speaking with Mike from your sales team, he indicated that your total sales dollars per year were about 120 million. How many individual sales would you say this is?
So our average sale is about 250,000. And I'm just going to look here to make sure I keep these notes correct, these numbers correct. But it's really different. Really differs the type of boats that we're talking about.
Right.
Some quite smaller and some much larger. So the prices really vary a lot.
Right.
But I can give you a rough estimate of about 480 sales, but that's just pretty rough.
Yeah. So feeding off of that, when your salespeople are in kind of the throes in the middle of these 480 different sales, all these different processes with different prospects, do you have one central place to keep all that corresponding like documentation to go along with those conversations, like emails, phone call recordings, contact exchanges, that kind of stuff?
Really, it's up to each sales rep to kind of keep their information together themselves.
Okay.
And so that being said, they typically have different folders on their computers with the different contracts for each client, and bills, emails, etc. Our really big issue here is that none of this information is really getting out to the rest of the company.
Right. Yeah. No. And we've seen that with a bunch of different companies as well. So you guys are not alone in that. And I know you mentioned that you're currently keeping an Excel spreadsheet with each of the clients' orders and contact information. Do you have a way to kind of look at this information on a high level, company-wide kind of view to understand the types of accounts that are going to close faster, what types of contacts at each of those different accounts or companies that are likely to be the decision makers?
I think because we're growing so much, like we do have some ways to kind of cross-analyze and things put in place to do that.
Right.
But with so many clients and we have so many different locations, some from all the way from Savannah to Hawaii, that we really are getting so big now that we're having it's becoming increasingly more difficult to kind of keep a good grasp on like the higher level information and keeping everything separate from like final sales revenue numbers.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. So kind of a follow-up to that question, how do you identify who's working on or owns a particular account or its sales process?
Well, the way that we're doing it right now is that each month a sales rep will get a list of prospects for each month, and then they're really responsible for like getting those conversations started with those different clients. So it's really more of like an individual process right now, and like I said, we're using Excel, so that's kind of on everybody else's separate Excel spreadsheets. You can kind of see why that gets a little muddled.
No, definitely.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I see. So in terms of knowing where prospects are in the sales process, what is the current way you guys are kind of analyzing this, and are you able to effectively track and measure that?
It's a little bit harder for us to kind of know where everybody else is in the sales cycle, just since everybody's kind of looking at their own individual information. So it is hard for us to project and forecast sales for the month, and especially the year. Really, that's what we're needing. So we don't really know how quickly everything's moving. That's kind of one of our biggest issues now that you've really brought that up.
So you keep mentioning this issue of the silos of information. Are there times when information has been lost on certain accounts and no one is able to follow up with that account?
Typically, yes. It's happened a couple times just to people, like, there's no one really particularly on it because there's so many particular siloed, as you said, accounts that people sometimes, yes, that happens. So that's something that we definitely are wanting to get under control now.
No, definitely. Have you guys in the past lost clients due to miscommunication?
Yeah, actually, and it's kind of been one of those things where it's happened a few times, usually because we're not really following up quick enough, and there are competitors out there that are doing that, and so that's become a really big issue for us and for our different sales representatives, and it's really, that's been something that's been really hard, and I think causing aggravation amongst our own employees, just because it's becoming increasingly more difficult.
No, definitely. So how many sales would you say have been lost from disorganization preventing sales reps from actually reaching out and following up with prospects? I know when I talked to Mike, he indicated there's around 5 sales per year that get stalled or canceled due to this disorganization on the company's behalf, but what would you say?
I think that's about right. I think as we're growing and it's starting to become a little more complicated, I would say anywhere from 5 to 10. Honestly, I think it's growing a little bit. So a lot of money being lost in that process.
Yes, no, definitely. How would you quantify the percentage of clients who do not repurchase from you due to a poor experience? I know talking with Samantha, she indicated that about only 12% were actually repeat buyers. And this was actually a drop in the last couple of years with an increased growth in terms of number of clients. And I understand some of that might not be from a poor experience, but what is your perspective on that?
I think for the most part, it's actually really pretty shockingly low how low the repurchase rate is. That being said, I think part of it is that people usually aren't buying boats multiple times a year. And I think that part of it too is that that they have had maybe not the best experience or not the most prompt response rate. And so that being said, I would imagine that could be a part of it. But I think it's totally fair to kind of see it as both. Probably some being lost for both reasons, but definitely want to take hold of the opportunity that we have there.
No, definitely. So Mike also mentioned that it's pretty hard for him to successfully work within an account without actually seeking help from other salespeople due to that lack of information in your current sales recording system. Those just individual Excel files. So from your perspective, how has not having a formal way to track those sales impacted the success of your sales professionals?
It really just means that the sales reps have to go contact each other directly, which is doable. It's just not ideal because then that's an interruption in the middle of your sales process, and that's everyone has their own clients and is in the middle of them themselves, so it's just been pretty disruptive, I think.
Definitely a lot of time wasted, I'm sure, too.
For sure.
I know another thing Samantha was mentioning is that her team doesn't routinely sell or set aggressive enough goals, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, but it costs her team a lot in terms of not bringing in extra revenue. Can you tell me a little bit about the impact that you've seen because of inaccurate sales forecasting or setting goals?
Yeah, I think our team, as you mentioned, I think that's right on the money, is that we just haven't really made a habit of setting really aggressive goals. That's just because we don't really know what's coming until we've closed, and so it's just we need a better way to know kind of how that works, and I don't know, a more accurate way of projecting what's coming so that we can get on that earlier and make more aggressive goals so that we know that we're challenging our team and keeping people on track and feeling like we're moving forward.
No, yeah, definitely.
And excelling with the growth.
Yeah, I like it. So now I want to hear from your perspective, how much time would a new CRM system actually save your people in terms of finding out where the prospect is in the sales cycle, which prospects have actually been talked to, and who are the key decision makers?
I can't give you like a super finite number on that, but I will say that just from observing and from my own experience, I would say like a solid quarter of our sales reps' days are spent making sure that everything is organized and updated and kind of keeping track of current clients and ones coming down the pipe. So really one place where we get all of that information and kind of allow it to be shared with others would help to focus relationships and bring in more revenue at the end of the day.
Hey, and that's what it's all about,
right?
What it's all about. So how would knowing the right timing and who the key decision makers are at each company actually influence successful sales?
I think some way that key decision makers were able to be kind of flagged in one direct place. I think that would really cut down on timing.
Right.
Just like wasted communication and steps along the way that are pretty unnecessary. And create some sort of checkbook. That way we're making sure we're contacting people on time. So something like that. And really allowing us to move revenue faster and bring in more clients.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. How would having one central place to put all of those documents, those emails, those phone calls, all that kind of stuff corresponding to each account really help sales professionals across your organization?
I think that would be so helpful for us. That's almost directly what we need. We're really desperate for that right now, especially as we're growing. We really need a central location for all of our engagements with prospects and clients. That way we can kind of optimize our opportunities. Really that way as a whole team, we're able to see where our prospects are and kind of see where everyone is in the sales process. That would really cut down on like unnecessary steps and just really causing everyone aggravation.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, I actually have the Salesforce platform pulled up here.
Cool.
So if you want to come over here, kind of show you a few things within the platform that really help your sales process.
Yeah.
So because we only have a little bit of time, I'm going to show you some big hitters.
Perfect.
That can be really substantial in terms of the impact for your business. So the first one, if you see here, it's called Path, which is actually a program that allows you to look at where records stand in the sales process.
Okay.
And it's a super quick indicator that helps you visualize where you are and where you're going, which I know you kind of mentioned that would be huge for you guys.
Yes.
Another tool that a lot of clients in this very similar sector is Kanban. It actually allows you to view a summary of your records to give you a big picture. Kind of look at all your work, and it lets you usually sort, filter, and move your opportunities along the pipeline. So that kind of targets that issue of like not knowing where your people are until they close. So that can be super helpful for you guys as well. The second thing I want to show you here is that once you've actually created the account, so as you see here, this would be like a mock example of one of your clients. And once you populate all this important information, we're actually able to build reports and dashboards to allow you to cross-analyze all the data in your CRM. Wow. So you can better kind of know what's going on in your company and more effectively set aggressive sales goals and kind of gauge where the business is in terms of revenue, which is super helpful and definitely something that I think you guys could use. The last main thing I wanted to show you guys is on the account level. So as you see here within the account dashboard, you can see the contacts and all of their account information. And then if you scroll down here, you can see all the touch points with the company or individuals, such as like phone calls, those recordings, all those specific messages and notes taken down, and even emails and campaigns they've been sent to or assigned to. So you can actually put them on a list to be, put them on a drip campaign so that they can be accurately targeted. And even like reminded when you think that they might need to be kind of like retargeted for another boat sale.
Perfect.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the types of in-depth recording and reporting that Salesforce can do for your company. With this level of organization and tracking, I think your sales professionals would be way more informed and equipped to go after the right types of targets at the right times in order to not just meet your sales goals, but actually exceed your revenue goals with their sales. So that's
Awesome.
just the platform, just a little bit of it. And
Very cool.
if you decide to close, I'd be happy to come back and do some more in-depth kind of helping you figure out the system as well.
Definitely.
So now, let me get my pen and paper here. So now that I have sufficient information, I can kind of talk to you about costs a little bit. So let's say that out of your hundreds of employees, about only 100 are actively involved in the sales process each day. Would you say that's about accurate?
Yeah, somewhere anywhere between 90 and 100 probably.
Okay, cool. So now the subscription that I think would best fit your company is around $180 per person. So if we do this out here, it's $180 per person times those 100 salespeople times those 12 months. That brings you to about $216,000 per year.
Mm-hmm.
And then with a small setup fee that just helps get everyone onboarded, make sure you're getting the most out of that tool, because that's important. With this amount of money, you want to be able to use it effectively. It's going to bring it to $241,000. So just to recap, we identified those three main needs for your company, which were the need for a better way to track sales and forecasting, the need for a more visible CRM system that can be viewed across your organization, kind of break down those silos, and that it also allows that important documentation to actually live within those contacts. And then we also wanted to make sure that we had a place that all that in-depth contact documentation could live, and that you would be able to flag those key players and decision makers that allows your sales cycle to be expedited so you can bring in more revenue faster. I think if we really think about it in terms of all the needs that you have compared to the cost you're currently experiencing, it would take the average sale of less than one extra boat. You mentioned that was around $250K. Less than one extra boat per year for your company be breaking even on this investment. And as we discussed, with this tool, you'd be situated to be making far more than one extra sale to cover this cost per year. So do you have any objections for why we shouldn't be moving forward with this deal today?
Not that I can think of. Really, I think you've really demonstrated the key gaps in our company's current processes. And really, as we continue to grow, we really don't have any room to be able to afford to be missing out on these sales, just due to poor documentation and visibility, and just like simple communication issues. So I think really this price tag seems pretty small compared to the value of new sales it will bring and the easing of the current burdens that we have right now. But if you have a contract today, I would love to look at it and continue looking over it, and then I'll have legal take a look at it, and if I can get back to you at the end of the week. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds great. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Look
Have a
forward
good
to
day.
hearing from you.
You too.